I'm so happy to welcome back our resident jazz and blues expert, Dan Bindert, who's here to give us some updates from WDCB Radio. Hi, Dan, welcome.
Oh, hey, Diana, great to be with you.
So what's happening at WDCB?
Well, I mean, we're always busy with things, planning things, for looking forward to the spring and the summer, even though it's a little cold right now. But we've got a lot of things going on. Later in the springtime, we'll have our big spring pledge drive will be happening in March, which is always sort of a big community outpouring with the station and always an exciting thing. But a lot of musical events too, things like the Oak Park Jazz Thaw, which happens in early March. This is fourth or fifth year that we've done this.
And what's that?
So what's great is, it's in Oak Park, so we have a lot of radio audience in the city as well as out here in the western suburbs.
Sure.
And Oak Park's like a nice halfway point for everybody to meet. But we have a dozen or so bars and restaurants in Oak Park that all on a Saturday from 2 or 3 in the afternoon until 10 or 11 o'clock at night will have live music, and it's all free, live jazz. So you can wander from club to club, restaurant to restaurant, and see real high-level jazz acts from all across Chicagoland performing.
So do you book those shows, or are you sponsoring this event?
We do. So we're in the process of booking it right now, but it's always a great lineup. There are some clubs that will have multiple artists, some clubs that just have one sort of marquee type show. But it's really a great event, always draws a lot of people, and it's just sort of fun because you bump into your fellow music fans out on the street between the places, and you get to know some different restaurants.
So it's like a jazz crawl.
Yeah, it's kind of like a jazz pub crawl.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun.
A lot of fun. So that's
it's
happening
free.
in early March, and that's free.
Wow.
Absolutely free.
So let's go back to your pledge drive.
Sure.
So for the pledge drive, because WDCB is public radio,
That's
so
right.
you have it's the public who helps to promote and sponsor and pay for all of what you do, correct?
Yeah, sure. At this point, in our budgetary scheme, about 50% of all of our revenue comes directly from individual donations from our listeners. There are various percentages that break down various ways beyond that, but it's the biggest portion of our revenue that allows us to operate.
And do what you do.
Yeah, so it's a huge thing for us, and we have 2 major pledge drives. One is in the spring and one is in the fall. So our spring pledge drive will be coming up in March. It coincides with the 100th anniversary, the centennial of Nat King Cole's birthday, who was a Chicago native, came up on the south side of Chicago before becoming a worldwide superstar. So
I never knew that.
Things related to
he grew up on the south side.
He certainly did, yeah.
Wow.
He grew up and attended high school on the south side. Eventually, by the time he was 18 or 19, he was becoming already an established artist. Eventually moved out to California and Los Angeles and went from there. But
so is that your theme for the pledge drive?
that's going to be a part of the theme, yeah, it certainly is. So that's one of the big jazz centennials.
Are there events that people should look for?
We're right now in the process of working on securing a Nat King Cole documentary for part of our Encore film series. We do a quarterly film series here at College of DuPage, and the last one was in January. We had a film on the pianist Bill Evans, and about 250 people came out and enjoyed the film. And so we're doing these once a quarter, and the next one will hopefully be a Nat King Cole documentary. We're sometimes securing the rights to these jazz documentaries are a little tricky.
It's hard, isn't it?
Sure.
We do the Global Flick series, and whenever you find a documentary, it's always like, you have to literally track down the guy who made it sometimes, and you're like, oh, can we show your film? And they're usually like, sure, show it, it's a college.
Yes.
But it's hard to find them.
Yep, so that's what we do with these jazz films. We've done documentaries on John Coltrane and the trumpeter Lee Morgan and Rahsaan Roland Kirk, who is this interesting character. And then we've shown occasionally Hollywood films like Spike Lee's Mo Better Blues, which is a jazz-themed film. So we'll do things like that, but we do those once a quarter. We'll have information on the WDCB website and on the radio in the weeks leading up to it, but the next one's coming up in early April on the campus of College of DuPage.
You know what I find with these, you can watch them at home, but it's so different to watch them with a group of people and the conversation that comes after.
That's absolutely true.
And you find these people in the audience, you're like, oh my gosh, I really like these people. I don't know, there's something about going to see these movies. Now, do you have a talk that's moderated?
You know, often we'll have someone introduce the film that has some background on the artist, or maybe has something related. Sometimes we've brought in an author of a book that a film was based on, or something like that. So occasionally we'll have something added, but we'll always have, at the very least, one of our jazz hosts out there to introduce the film and give some background on it. But you're right, when you watch something in a crowd with a group of like-minded people, it's just a lot more fun. It's a whole different experience than watching it at home.
It
where
is.
You get interrupted by the telephone,
Yes.
or whatever it is. You have a different level of engagement with it.
It's awesome. I think it's just wonderful that you're doing that. So we have some exciting shows coming to the MAC that WDCB is sponsoring and has been an important part of. Dee Dee Bridgewater, Take 6, and we just added, you're the one that you like the most.
Robert Cray.
Yes,
Very
Robert
exciting,
Cray.
Yeah.
So can you share, because there's truly nobody better to learn more about these artists from than you. You always
thanks,
know
but,
all the little details.
But Robert Cray definitely is, he's going to be exciting. I mean, I think he's performed at the MAC before over the years, and always a crowd favorite. But, I mean, he really kind of defines what it is to be a modern blues man. There are a lot of artists still around, even people like Buddy Guy, who were established as artists back in the 60s, before the Beatles even came along. Buddy Guy was already making records. But Robert Cray was part of the generation that came along after the blues had sort of died out of popular culture a little bit, and he was one of the people that really helped to bring it back in the 1980s with a different sound and a more modern feel that brought in soul and rock. And so you had Robert Cray in the 1980s in this era where you're coming out of the disco era with a lot of the music is a lot of fun, but the beats could be very formulaic and sort of mechanized, and then the MTV area with synthesizers and all that sort of thing. And then there was a blues movement that came along in the 1980s that was almost like a very much a breath of fresh air, because you had Stevie Ray Vaughan bringing guitar playing to another level, and there was a singer named ZZ Hill who was very popular in the African American blues market and was played on urban radio. His big song was a song called Down Home Blues that you'll still hear Chicago blues bands play in their sets. And at the same time, Robert Cray made it onto rock radio with a song called Smoking Gun. Was a big top 10 hit in the middle of the 1980s, which was very unusual at that time for a blues artist who was singing soulfully, an incredible guitar player, and a real tight band, but real musicians playing real music. It was really a different thing in the middle of that MTV era of synthesizers and big hair and all that. So, and Robert Cray now, in the meantime, since the 80s, I mean, he's made 20 albums. He's in the Blues Hall of Fame. He's won 5 Grammys.
He's
something
amazing.
Like that. And he looks and sounds every bit as good as he did when he first hit the scene as this new young star in the 1980s. He really hasn't lost a step at all. So he's going to be great to see.
You need to have your own show just about history of music. You are like an incredible wealth of information.
Well, thanks for the nice
It's amazing.
talk, but it's just fun getting the opportunity to see it, witness these artists up close at a place like the MAC.
Well, I hope you're going to be there.
Definitely.
Thank you for coming on the show and for sharing all your wisdom with us and educating all of us on what we're going to see soon.
You're welcome, Diana. Great to be along. Thanks for the opportunity to come out and talk about music and WDCB.
Thank you. For tickets to Robert Cray Band on March 8th, visit atthemac.org. And for all the latest on WDCB Radio, visit WDCB.org. Coming soon to the MAC on March 3rd is Celtic Nights, Oceans of Hope, a powerful show that tells the story of Irish culture and history through music, song, and dance. Then, backed by popular demand on March 9th, is the hilarious political satire show, The Capitol Steps. On March 16th, come see the Ireland's folk band of the year, the High Kings. Don't miss the legendary a cappella group Take 6 when they come to the MAC on March 22nd. Come witness the modern dance spectacle that is Palobolus as they present the Chicago premiere of Shadowland, the new adventure, on March 23rd. For tickets or more information, be sure to visit atthemac.org.